The densities traversed in our path of learning correspond to the characteristics of cycles. First, the cycle of awareness. Second, the cycle of growth. Third, the cycle of self-awareness. Fourth, the cycle of love or understanding. Fifth, the cycle of light or wisdom. Sixth, the cycle of light-love, love-light or unity. Seventh, the gateway cycle. Eighth, the octave which moves into a mystery we do not plumb. Many second density entities come more rapidly to third density than others, not because of an innate efficiency of catalysis, but because of unusual opportunities for investment. Much as we would put on a vestment, so do our third density beings invest, or clothe some second density beings with self-awareness. This is often done through the opportunity of what we call pets. It has also been done by various other means of investiture. These include many so-called religious practice complexes, which personify and send love to various natural second density beings in their group form. There is the simple third density investment, which is the line of spiraling light, calling distortion upward from density to density. The process takes longer when there is no investment made by incarnate third density beings. In just such a way, those of fourth density may invest third, those of fifth density may invest fourth. When fifth density has been obtained, the process takes upon itself a momentum based upon the characteristics of wisdom when applied to circumstance. The logos itself, then, in these instances provides investment opportunities, if you wish to use that term. Each center may be seen to be activated potentially in third density, the late second density entities having the capability, if efficient use is made of experience, of vibrating and activating the green ray energy center. The fourth, fifth, and sixth densities are those refining the higher energy centers. The rays of sexual energy transfer, as we understand them, have such a different meaning in the next density and the next and so forth. Sexual energy transfers only take place in third, fourth, fifth, and sixth densities. The process is different in the fifth and the sixth density than we may understand it. However, it is in these cases still based upon polarity. In the seventh density, there is not this particular energy exchange, as it is unnecessary to recycle body complexes. The basic purpose of a social memory complex is that of evolution. Beyond a certain point, the evolution of spirit is quite dependent upon the understanding of self and other self as creator. This constitutes the basis for social complexes. When brought to maturity, they become social memory complexes. The fourth density and sixth density find these quite necessary. In fifth density, entities may choose to learn as a social memory complex, or as mind-body-spirit complexes, and may graduate to sixth density under these conditions, for the wisdom density is an extremely free density. The fifth positive uses social memory in attaining wisdom, though this is done individually. In fifth negative, much is done without aid of others. The intensity of fourth density is that of the refining of the rough-hewn sculpture. This is, indeed, in its own way, quite intense, causing the mind-body-spirit complex to move ever inward and onward in its quest for fuller expression. However, in third density, the statue is forged in the fire. This is a type of intensity which is not the property of fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh densities. A large percentage of fourth density negative entities continue the negative path from fourth to fifth density experience, for without wisdom, the compassion and desire to aid other self is not extremely well informed. Thus, though one loses approximately 2% moving from negative to positive during the fourth density experience, we find approximately 8% of graduations into fifth density, those of the negative. There are only a few third density entities who have learned how to use craft to travel between star systems, while experiencing the limitations we now understand. However, such entities have learned to use hydrogen in a way different from our understanding now. These entities still take quite long durations of time, as we measure it, to move about. However, these entities are able to use hypothermia to slow the physical and mental complex processes in order to withstand the duration of flight. The fourth, fifth, or sixth density entities have access to a type of energy system which uses the speed of light as a slingshot and thus arrives where it wishes without any perceptible time elapsed in our view. Those of fourth, fifth, and sixth densities who have learned the necessary disciplines of personality to view the universe as one being and therefore are able to proceed from locus to locus by thought alone, materializing the necessary craft, if you will, to enclose the light body of the entity. The positively oriented social memory complex will be attempting to learn the disciplines of mind, body, and spirit. However, there are some which, having the technology available to use intelligent energy forces to accomplish travel, do so while learning the more appropriate disciplines. The fourth density negative uses the slingshot gravitic light effect, perhaps 80% of its membership being unable to master the disciplines necessary for alternate methods of travel. In fifth density negative, approximately 50%, at some point gain the necessary discipline to use thought to accomplish travel. There are patent differences between the polarities, but no difference whatsoever in the completion of the knowledge of the self necessary to accomplish this discipline. As the sixth density approaches, the negative orientation is thrown into confusion and little travel is attempted. What travel is done is perhaps 73% of light thought. In positive, the fifth density complex uses sixth density teach learners to study the more illuminated understandings of unity, thus becoming more and more wise. Fifth density positive social memory complexes often will choose to divide their service to others in two ways. First, the beaming of light to creation. Second, the sending of groups to be of aid as instruments of light, such as those whom you're familiar with through channels. In fifth density, the manifestation of the physical complex is more and more under the control of the conscious mind complex. Therefore, the fifth density entity may dissolve one manifestation and create another. Consequently, the choice of a fifth density entity, or complex of entities wishing to communicate with our peoples, would choose to resemble our people's physical complex chemical yellow-ray vehicles. The fifth density physical vehicle needs food, which may be prepared by thought. We would call this type of food nectar or ambrosia, or a light broth of golden white hue. This is a somewhat central point. The purpose of space-time is the increase in catalytic action appropriate to the density. One of the preconditions for space-time existence is some form of body complex. Such a body complex must be fueled in some way. In fifth density, it is comfort for those of like mind gather together to share in this broth, thus becoming one in light, and wisdom while joining hearts and hands in physical activity. Thus, in this density, it becomes a solace rather than a catalyst for learning. The so-called negative service-to-self entity in this density is at a high level of awareness and wisdom and has ceased activity except by thought. The action of fifth density is viewed in space-time the same with or without polarity. However, viewed in time-space, the experiences of wisdom are greatly enlarged and deepened, again due to the voluntary nature of polarized mind-body-spirit action. In fifth density positive and negative, the concept of work done through a potential difference is not particularly helpful, as fifth density entities are, again, intensifying rather than potentiating. In fifth density negative, service to self has become extremely intense, and the self has extraordinarily compacted and separated from all else, so that the dialogues with the teach learners are used exclusively in order to intensify wisdom. In fifth density harvest, polarization has very little to do with harvestability. The fifth density harvest is of those whose vibratory distortions consciously accept the honor duty of the law of one. This responsibility honor is the foundation of this vibration. The fifth density is 50 million of our years. As positive fifth density moves into sixth, there are virtually no entities which any longer use outer technology for travel or communication. In sixth density, the density of unity, the positive and negative paths must take in each other, for all now must be seen as love-light and light-love. This is not difficult for the positive polarity, which sends love and light to all other selves. It is difficult enough for service to self polarized entities. The sixth density negative entity is extremely wise. It observes the spiritual entropy occurring due to the lack of ability to express the unity of sixth density. Thus, loving the Creator and realizing at some point that the Creator is not only self, but other self is self, this entity consciously chooses an instantaneous energy reorientation so that it may continue its evolution. The body complex still needs nourishment. However, the nature of this food is that of light and is impossible to describe in any meaningful way. One of the sixth density cycles computes to 75 million of our years. The seventh density is a density of completion and the turning towards timelessness or foreverness. Acceptance of self, forgiveness of self, and the direction of the will. This is the path towards the disciplined personality. These things are of importance in third through early seventh densities. At the seventh level or dimension, we shall become one with all, thus having no memory, no identity, no past or future, but existing in the all. It is our understanding that it would not be our awareness, but simply awareness of the Creator. In the Creator is all that there is. Therefore, this knowledge would be available.